Good day to everyone, and thank you so much for your patience over the last week with last Tuesday's audio issue, and this is the redo of that. I want to thank all of you for your patience and your persistence in showing up. I really hope that this security series has been informative and educational for you. We've obviously been focusing on Active Directory in a hybrid environment, and we've had sessions on endpoints, how to secure them. We've had sessions on how to monitor changes on-prem, monitor changes in Azure Active Directory. And today we're going to be focusing on privileged access, which of course spans both on-prem as well as Azure Active Directory. My name is Derek Melber. I will be your monitor as well as your speaker for today. The logistics are the same as always with mine and pretty much any other webinar from Manage Engine, the AD Solutions team. We are recording this. You should receive a link to the recording in the next couple of days. If you have any questions, you can contact me directly. That is my email. I will mention that multiple times during the webinar, as well as anyone on the AD Solutions events team. We strive to get back to everyone that emails us, regardless of the question, in as fast as time as possible. So please send us your questions, comments, complaints, kudos, anything. So that's enough of the logistics. Let's talk a little bit about who you're listening to. My name is Derek Melber. I am the Chief Technology Evangelist for the AD Solutions team, a longtime MVP, both in Active Directory and group policy. I think I got my first MVP in 2001 or 2002, somewhere thereabouts. We do have some resources online. We have a blog, which you can access off of our main landing page. We have what I consider to be one of the best security hardening sites on the internet, which is all information about securing your workstations, your servers, your domain controllers, Active Directory all in one spot. I will quickly show you where those resources are located. The first one, our blog, is located here off of company, and the security hardening site, if you come under products and go to the security hardening site, you will find this particular site. The critical information on this site is at the bottom in these blue bars. Just click on one and you will be able to see the information. I'm currently working on updating the security hardening site to make it more video based, but I've been traveling at a 55% rate. So as you can guess, at 55%, it's a little difficult to get time to do videos, but I will get that thing done. I promise you. I definitely want to do that because I think it'll be easier for everyone to consume the information in a video format compared to a written format. But again, the written format is very good. It's all action-based, gives you step-by-steps where appropriate for you to go in and perform those steps. So anyway, one more comment about our world tour, our 2019 world tour. Obviously, we are knee-deep in this. We are 6 months into our world tour. We started in February, and I have gone to 15 countries. I know my colleagues have also gone to at least 15 other countries, and we're sharing the load, getting things done. I know that this year we're focusing on SIM solutions, password solutions, general security, as well as hybrid Active Directory. So the content has been well received around the world, and I know that I've helped quite a few people through the emails that I've been getting after going to the session. So please keep an eye out for those. In the US, we'll be back, I believe it is in October, so keep an eye out for that. I believe we're going to the West Coast. The cities haven't been chosen, so if you and your colleagues want your city to be chosen, send an email and I will send that along to the decision makers, and we will try to get your city in there. It is an awesome event. So please keep an eye out for that and send me your comments. Okay, enough about that. Let's jump to the material. This is one of my favorite sessions. And the reason it's one of my favorite sessions is because we have to protect privileged access. And I'm going to springboard this with the Capital One breach. I just read this morning that the woman that spearheaded the Capital One breach She worked for AWS, and she ran a single command to elevate her privileges to be part of a particular group. They actually gave online half the group name. And by getting access to this group, she was able to access over 100 million customers' data or personal information. So this gives you the idea of the importance of knowing who has privileges. It is vital. And as I went over last Thursday and yesterday with monitoring of changes to Active Directory, if you do not have a change monitoring system in place that gives you real-time notifications of changes, I think you should. I want to say something else, but I'm just going to say I think you should. You really need to have a system that is going to allow you to know what's changing in Active Directory. That's a lot of what we're going to talk about today, but we're going to kind of wrap it around this topic of privileged access, okay? So let's first of all talk about the ideas of how to detect changes. You are going to detect changes by setting up auditing, okay? I know the word auditing, especially in the US, has multiple terms, multiple definitions, connotations, but here we are actually talking about the auditing within the operating system. So let me review what I'm talking about here. So here I'm inside of my environment. I'm going to find a GPO, which is here. I'm going to go to the Group Policy Management Console. I'm going to open up a GPO, and I'm going to show you where you can set up auditing. You're going to do it in one of two places. You do not need to do it in both places. One or the other will suffice. The legacy location is here under Computer, Security, Local Policies, Audit Policy, and you will see that I have mine defined, okay? Now, this is legacy. This is really for the older operating systems, Windows Server 2008 and before. If you are running your domain controllers, Windows Server 2008 Service Pack 1 and beyond, then you can actually come down here and do advanced audit policy configuration. They are similar, but they give you more in-depth information and more granular control. So you're not going to have as much information in your logs. So this is a benefit, and you will see that I have these configured. My recommendation, if at all possible, is use the advanced audit policy. Now here's a little tip, okay? This is a great tip in my opinion. If you are running a domain where you have a mixture of older operating systems and newer operating systems, the newer ones can support advanced audit policy and the older ones can support the legacy audit policy. Because each domain controller has their own security log, you can have a mixture of both, okay? So my recommendation is use the latest and greatest where possible, and if nothing else, use the audit policy that's been legacy back really to Windows NT days, okay? Now, you also need to go into your Active Directory users and computers, go to the domain node, go to properties, and set up auditing. That's under your security tab, advanced auditing, and you're going to have to set up auditing. Don't worry about the details here, okay? Just have a general concept. If you don't know how to set these up, you're going to email me. I gave you my email address, okay? Derek@manageengine.com. You're going to email me with the simple content of send me the audit document. And I'm going to send you a link to a document that tells you exactly what to set up and where to set it up. It's like 4 pages long. Super simple, super easy, okay? So that's what you're going to do for on-prem Active Directory in order to get auditing set up, all right? Now, in order to get auditing set up for your Azure Active Directory environment, let me jump out to my Azure Active Directory environment here. You are going to simply consume what is being audited. So here in Azure Active Directory, you have your audit logs. The auditing is already set up in Azure Active Directory. As we discussed yesterday, some of the problem is that you don't have a lot of room depending on which level you are paying for in Azure. So The higher you up are on levels, the more you're paying, the more information you can actually save, okay? Now, if we jump back to on-prem Active Directory, to view the audit results, you are going to go to the security log and event viewer. Let me jump to that for on-prem, okay? So again, this is on-prem, event viewer, security log, this is where the information is. So you have a different format for on-prem, a different format for Azure Active Directory. Some more reminders. Every domain controller on-prem has a unique security log. Your Azure Active Directory environment has a unique security log or a unique audit log, okay? This information is not exchanged, it's not shared, it's not replicated, it's not synchronized, none of it. It's all 100% separate. So for you to be able to dig information out of these separate logs, you need something in place that is going to help you look at the information. And that's what we're going to look at today, okay? So that is the setup. That is how things are organized and structured. This slide here talks about some of the limitations that you have for on-prem Active Directory auditing. The logs get filled up. They do a first in, first out overwrite of information, so you can lose information. The alerts are limited on their granular control. There's a lot of issues. Nearly every issue on this list is also an issue for Azure Active Directory, okay? Microsoft really didn't give us a lot of great benefits by moving to Azure Active Directory with regard to audit logs. Even though in the year 2019, we're finally paying attention to the importance of auditing and security, Microsoft didn't give us the additional capabilities of looking at the information ourselves. Microsoft is basically taking an approach of, you know, we're giving you through additional features and premium levels, we're giving you more capabilities, but the reality is that you have a limited functionality for your audit logs. All right. So what are we going to look for changes to on-prem privileged groups? Now, what I want to do is I want to break down the groups for you into 3 categories. I always find that administrators kind of flinch when they have to think about documenting their privileged groups, and I don't want you to have that problem. First and foremost, you have built-in privileged groups. These would include domain admins, enterprise admins, administrators, group policy creator owners, and the like, okay? A second type of privileged group in Active Directory are what I call application and service groups. These are groups that are installed and configured when you install the application or service. Examples would be those for SQL Server and Exchange Server and SharePoint Server and the like. A third type of privileged group are those groups that you create, you the administrator. You just create a name and you create a group. And then you start putting these groups in other groups, you put users on these groups and then give them delegations and permissions. So these are the 3 types of groups that you need to document. Hold on one second. Okay, so you have 3 different types of privileged groups, and I'm going to suggest that you go into Active Directory and you start looking at every group and you start documenting them, okay? So that's going to look like this, okay? Now, of course, mine's a small demo environment, but you're going to come in here, you're going to first of all look at built-in, and you're going to write down all the groups that have privileges. That would be account operators, administrators, backup operators, right? Then you're going to go down here to users, and you're going to document cert publishers, DNS admins, domain admins, enterprise admins, schema admins, okay? You also in here are going to have your service and application groups. Here's a SQL Server group, right? And you're going to document all of those. You also probably want to go through your domain controllers and your servers and look at the services that are installed to see where they might tuck in some of those. Obviously, you can look for the word admin and some of those other things. Then you're going to look for, basically through group membership, not always, but you're going to come into the group memberships and you're going to start documenting other groups. Now, I don't have any groups here, but if I come up here to, I think administrators has some, I can come in here and see that I have master admins. That is a custom group. So I'm going to document this group, and then I'm going to get the membership of that group. Okay? So these are some steps on what you need to do to document your privileged groups. Again, I'm going to go back to Citibank, right? So, or whatever the bank was. So I'm going to go back to that. If any group can have membership and then the members of that group have access to something, you need to track the membership of all the groups. That's why I'm saying you can't just look at the built-in groups. You have to look across the board, okay? So this is the first step. Now, what you need to do is you need to track when these groups change membership, okay? Now, in order to do this, what you can do is use a SIM solution. You cannot use Event Viewer to do this. Event Viewer does not give you the granular control. You cannot use the filters inside of Azure Active Directory to do this. They do not give you the control. Could you do it with PowerShell? Of course. Of course you could. Can I get it done in a SIM solution in about 1/10 the time to configure out PowerShell? Yes. Is it easier to modify the SIM solution if you want to add a group? Yes. But if you decide to go with PowerShell, you can certainly do that, okay? So what you're going to do specifically in the SIM that I'm going to show you is you're going to go into AD Audit Plus, and inside of AD Audit Plus, you simply are going to modify the predefined report, which actually reports on all groups being modified, and then you're going to set up profiles so that you can look at privileged groups, okay? So here is modified admin groups, and if I come in here, you can clearly see that I have a filter, and then you can see here that I just have all of my groups named. If I want to add or remove anything, it's a simple click on what I want to add or remove, and I'm ready to go, all right? Now, the benefit of this is that if I go in through any mechanism, doesn't matter, LDAP, if I go through some kind of scripting like PowerShell or VB, if I go through a GUI, if I go through a third-party tool, if I go through anything, and I modify any of those groups that are on that list, say, for example, I come in here to domain admins, and I remove, or I add, whatever it is, that is immediately tracked, and now because I have an alert on that, you will see that I have an alert already posted on this. This is the importance of this. Tell me back in April when the woman broke into the group that had privileges, how much information would have been stolen if the administrators received an alert that that group changed membership in real time. They could have taken immediate action. This is the importance, okay? This is the importance. It has to be real time. This information did go through the event viewer, but trying to find it here becomes very difficult, okay? Also, you typically need to do a search. I don't want you to do a search. I want you to just receive a notification inside of your email, your text, of when things change. This is the importance, okay? Do it for all your privileged groups. Your privileged groups shouldn't change often. So you're not going to receive a ton of emails, all right? But you need to know when these types of things change in your environment. So what's next? What other privileges? Well, I want to kind of divert you to a different area, okay? And I'm going to take a different approach with you compared to normal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you before I describe it. So here I'm in my domain controller, okay? And I'm going to go to my domain controller services. These are the Windows services. And if you come in here, you can look at log on as. Notice this, and I can see that I am using certain accounts for service accounts. These are the service accounts that I'm talking about. Now, some of you on this webinar, you may have 10 servers. Some of you might have 1,000 servers. Regardless, you want to make sure that you gather all the information. I'm going to show you how to do this in a very simple way. Okay? What you're going to do is you are going to go to the Manage Engine website, and you are going to go to the free tools. It's right below products, okay, the lower right-hand side, right next to security hardening. And you're going to download the AD Manager free tools, okay? This is, of course, free. That's all. These are awesome free tools, I'm telling you right now, okay? One of the functions is service account management. Inside of service account management, you are going to select all of your Windows servers, okay? Once you've selected your Windows servers, you're going to go get the service accounts from all of those servers that you selected in that list. It's going to pull back for you the name of all the service accounts that are listed on all the servers, right? It tells you the server name here, and the service accounts. System, network service, we don't care about those. So we give you a filter to only look at the users, and you will see AD Audit and Derek. Now, and Derek, you just saw that Derek was actually part of 2 different services, so I could go get the associated services. It's up to you, okay? My point is I want you to pull back all of these service accounts that are listed on all of your servers. Now that you have all of these service accounts, you're going to go back to AD Audit Plus, your SIM solution, and you are going to come in and you are going to generate a report and alert of service accounts, okay? Now, what does this look like? Well, what this looks like is nothing more. Let's see if I can find it on my list here. I always get lost in my list. Service accounts. Where's my service accounts? Oh, maybe I don't have an alert for it yet. I change environments quite a bit, but I do have a report. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So in the report, service account management is here. Okay. Now, I want you to see the results. You'll see here July 31st is when this service was changed. But now I'm going to come down here to my service accounts, and I am going to disable the service. Watch this. If I disable this account, because I have a report set up on it, and of course I could have an alert, I come back here to my reports, and it immediately tells me, home here, that that account was disabled. Now if I go to the reports, you're going to see in my service account management that that account was disabled. It tells me all the details. This is vitally important. I want you to think about your service accounts. If someone somehow, whether it be intentional, whether it be malicious, whether it be accidental, goes and modifies any configuration for your service account, modifying the password, disabling the account, maybe modifying group membership or user rights, if someone modifies that and you aren't notified, I guarantee you the service is going to fail. But now with your ability to actually receive notifications in real time, you can take action on that. The power is immense, okay? So let me summarize. You're first of all going to go in and you are going to get all your service accounts through our free AD Manager tool. You're going to take those and put those into the list of accounts that you're going to monitor any changes. Once they're in the list for monitoring, you now have the ability to look for service accounts that are managed, changed in any way, and you can have an alert you on when that occurs. Okay? That powerful. It is amazing. And if you look at breaches on service accounts, again, many of them are not noticed for a long time. The problem is we're not tracking them, all right? You must track these types of accounts. It is essential for you to do that. So use the free tool, go in, add in, again, a filter, add in the details around that, set up reports, set up notifications, and receive those notifications. Now, you also need to check for privilege changes in Azure Active Directory. This gets a little more tricky, all right? The reason is because Azure Active Directory isn't as seasoned as what we have inside of on-prem Active Directory. And Microsoft really isn't giving us the interface for this. All of this, if you're going to use native, has to be done through PowerShell. But what we want to do is we want to be able to come in and look for the roles and administrators that are changing in Azure Active Directory, specifically anything that has administrator associated with it. Specifically at the top is our global administrator. Now, Microsoft, of course, gives you these audit logs, but the audit logs don't have any alerting associated with them until you get into the higher premium, and even then you have to use PowerShell. So what I'm suggesting is that if you can actually get an environment to where you're tracking these changes, you can see here that in my 80 Audit Plus, I have an Azure Active Directory component, and I can look for role management, and I can look for recently added or removed members of this group. Again, it's all can be associated with alerts. This is the power that you have when you get a SIM solution that has a single pane of glass for you to look at privileges in both Active Directory and Azure Active Directory side by side. So in your hybrid, now you have easy access to know exactly what is changing in both environments. This becomes that powerful environment that you want in order to know what's happening, okay? Now, I'm going to add one more thing here because I've been talking about it all year in my seminars. I mentioned it over the last week, but I want to make sure that everyone on this webinar hears it as well. You must track privileged account logons, success and failure. Because when you are tracking these privileged access, logon, failures, and success, you now can see when you're under attack. So if I can come in here and I can see reports of logon failures, and I can see over the last, let's say, 6 months of when someone has logged on and failed to log on, I can then go through and actually filter this out to see when it was someone that shouldn't have. So I can come in here to the history, you will see, and I can search on admin and I can see when administrator failed to log on, okay? So this hasn't happened since June 5th, but in June 5th, there were multiple failed logons, okay? This is essential for you to be able to see what is going on. Now, to show you this live, I have a client here, and I'm going to log on as administrator. Okay, now it says the username or password is incorrect. That obviously is over here with my domain controller, and my logon failure should have administrator right here. I should also have an alert. I'm pretty sure I have this alert set up. Someone tried to log on as administrator, okay? Now, in my environment, administrator is actually a bogus account. It's a honeypot. So if I come down here to users, administrator here is enabled, but you'll notice that my administrator account, when I look at the SID, where's my SID? Right? My object SID ends in 1195, and we all know that the administrator account by default ends in, that's right, we all said it in unison, 500. So this is a honeypot to show me when I am under attack, and it shows me this perfectly every time, and I am getting some notification of this. I also want to set this up for all of my other privileged accounts, right? IT, help desk, technicians, developers, anyone that has any privileges, I want to track when their account is failing to log on. Super easy to do when you have a SIM solution. So when we start looking at privileged accounts, it's not just as simple as, hey, I want to look at the built-in. No, no, no. We need to look far beyond that. Because what is happening is organizations are susceptible to attacks and queries. And what is happening is the internet is training our internal employees, just like this AWS employee, on how to hack. So I'm going to guess that what happened was this person went into some group, ran a command to find out who was in the group, what access they had, and then added themselves to the group and then had that access. So this is what's happening in the environment, and if we can actually track when things are occurring, we're much better off. And we need to do that on-prem Active Directory as well as in Azure Active Directory, and we have a SIEM solution that tracks all of that. So in the short time together, we were able to track privileged groups, the 3 different categories of them. We were able to track service accounts, and when anything in any of these groups or service accounts changed, we got an email, we got a text message in real time. So we can take immediate action instead of waiting for 5 months to realize that changed and then go, oh, we were breached 5 months ago. We also need to do it in Azure Active Directory. In my opinion, even though PowerShell can do this, PowerShell isn't giving us the flexibility and customization that we need to be able to be dynamic and get the notifications in real time. This becomes a critical aspect of this, okay? I also showed you how you should track logon failures and success for all of your privileged users, okay? You'll want to do this both for Azure and you'll want to do this for on-prem Active Directory. So being able to look at this becomes very critical, okay? Now, I didn't show you in Azure, so let me show you that real quick. Over here, I have my reports. I go to Azure Active Directory, and I can look at my logon failures, okay? Now, obviously, in the last whatever, I don't have any. But here, if I look at the last 6 months, I should have, oh, sorry, wrong environment. Let me jump out to the other environment, which is here. So if I look at my logon failures, you'll see that I have some logon failures here. If I look over the last 6 months, I will probably have more. And then what I can come in here and do is I can look for admin, and boom, there's my list of when admin has failed to log on. Okay, the exact same scenario is occurring in Azure Active Directory as on-prem, but you need solutions that can dig this information out. All right, it is vital that you be able to do this. So this is the world that we need to live in, and I think it's so important. And every time that I read a breach, and the breach was nothing more than, gosh, if I would have been notified, I would have been able to stop this. It's very frustrating to me. I've been talking about this for years, okay? I don't want you to fall susceptible to this simple of an attack. I want you to be notified. And it may not be an attack. It could just be someone, modifying it, but you need to know. So where do you go from here? Well, first of all, if you have any questions, that's my email address. Do not be shy in emailing me. Second of all, I need you to start to touch and feel AD Audit Plus. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to the Manage Engine landing page. You are going to go here on the Manage Engine landing page to Products, AD Audit Plus. You are going to download it. You're going to install it, configure it for all of your domain controllers on-prem. You're going to associate it with your Azure tenant and get Azure Active Directory, start reporting, and you're done. That's as simple as it is. It immediately starts to consume information. Okay. Now, if you do need to set up auditing, like I showed you at the very beginning of this webinar, email me and I will send you that document. It's going to take you 10 minutes before the download. That's it. You need this. Okay. This is the power at your fingertips to be able to know what is changing in your environment. The solution is super slim, but super powerful, easy to customize. All right. So, download the product, play with the product. If you have any questions, email me. If you have any questions, email anyone else on the AD Solutions team. We are here to help you. If you want to wait until you come to the World Tour event in October, please come ready to go. Please bring your questions, bring your complications so we can try to help solve them. If you have any questions along the way, email me. I'm going to let you go. This is the end of our webinar. Thank you for all attending the series if you attended the series. I'm going to let you go, get to the rest of your day. I'm going to get to the rest of my day. And for myself, Derek Melber, and the rest of the AD Solutions team, thank you very much for attending, and have a good rest of your day.